election update from News Channel 5 on your side.
And time now for another local election update. Good evening, I'm Chris Flanagan.
And I'm Danita Harris. One of the closely watched races is the U.S. Senate race between incumbent Sherrod Brown and Republican challenger Josh Mandel. Here are the current numbers. Brown has 57% of the vote. Mandel has 39%.
And News Channel 5's Bob Jones joining us now from Sherrod Brown headquarters in Columbus. And Bob, what's the scene like there right now?
Well, Chris, I can tell you there's a lot of excitement in the air down here in Columbus. We are at the Hilton Hotel, and you can see behind me there was a large crowd of people that have gathered. We just saw the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He came in support of Sherrod Brown and praised Sherrod Brown several times. The race between Brown and Mandel is too close to call right now, but I did see Sherrod Brown earlier in the night, and he told me that he's only preparing one speech, and that is a victory speech. His camp also tells me that they are encouraged. They believe that the early votes were in their favor by at least 5%, and they have some indications from some exit polling that Sherrod Brown is doing well, or at least holding his own tonight, so they believe they are in good shape. Back to you guys.
Okay, Bob Jones reporting live tonight from Columbus. Thank you, Bob.
We're going to turn it over now to News Channel 5's Michael Baldwin, who's keeping an eye on the other side of that race at Josh Mandel's headquarters in Columbus. Michael set the scene there.
You know, I spoke with the state treasurer earlier today, and he told me he's feeling very confident. His exact quote is, "I feel good. I think we're going to win. It's going to be a squeaker." He says that if he does win the U.S. Senate race, his three main issues are going to be jobs, jobs, jobs. Whether or not he gets to do that, we shall see. We're live in Columbus. Michael Baldwin, News Channel 5.
from the station that's on your side. This is a News Channel 5, Your Voice, Your Vote special.
NewsNet5.com. We are once again back in the newsroom. This is my favorite part of the night, where you get a chance to see behind the scenes what goes into making an election night work. We've got Mel Watson on the boards over here monitoring the Electoral College. We just had Kansas, Louisiana go for Romney, keeping track of the totals. We're going to be checking in with them in just a bit. And guys are working on some of the cut-ins over here. We got a lot of our workers and interns taking in many of the results from across Northeast Ohio as they are posted then on NewsNet5.com. Over on the NewsNet5.com, we got a full staff of folks monitoring the latest on the election stories, not only here locally but abroad. Over to your right, we got the food we've been eating all night. On this side, we have the assignment desk, hard at work, monitoring all that is going on with the crews that we have going around throughout Northeast Ohio. Many of those crews you could find on the board here at the Satellite Center. And these are monitors that are set up with an indication of different shots from around the country. This is the Cuyahoga County Board of Election over here, REM 4, REM 5. Here we have Boston. This is the Romney-Ryan headquarters on SAT 42. Is this Chicago? Yeah. This is Chicago, the Biden and Obama-Biden headquarters. And these are some of the live shots that are taking place from around the country. Florida Senate race, one they're watching closely there. So this is kind of where we monitor where all things go in. This is Bob Jones. He's standing by down at the Sherrod Brown headquarters. We have Michael Baldwin over at the Josh Mandel headquarters. So we're beginning to take all the numbers in, studying them as they come in, and we're going to be checking in with Bob and Baldwin in just a couple of minutes to see. I see Bob with his hand to his ear. Might he be available?
Yeah.
We'll check in with him in just a couple of minutes. But again, there's Bob. Bob, I'm looking at you in the monitor. I just want to check in to see how things are going this evening at the headquarters where you're at.
Well, John, as you might be able to see behind me, there is a very large crowd here gathered at the Columbus Hilton in downtown Columbus, a large crowd supporting Sherrod Brown. And we just saw Reverend Jesse Jackson come here about a half hour ago. He, of course, always draws a large crowd. He was talking about the importance of the inner city vote and the young vote, both as it relates to President Obama and Sherrod Brown. Now, this race, of course, a hotly contested race. It's said to be the most expensive Senate race this year in the entire country. An estimated $85 million was spent when you factor in the amount of money that the campaign spent, as well as the outside special interest groups. I did speak with Sherrod Brown earlier today. I asked him how he was feeling. He said he's feeling very confident. He also talked about the fact that he's only writing one speech tonight, and that would be a victory speech. He seems to be very confident that he is going to walk away with the win tonight. It is too close to call right now, but the early indications are that Sherrod Brown is in the lead. The camp for Sherrod Brown is also indicating they're very pleased with the early return votes. Their estimation is that with early voting factored in, they were up 5 or 6% already. They also believe they've had some polling information that they've been researching, and it's indicating that Sherrod Brown seems to be holding his own today on day of election. And they said, John, that's really all that they were hoping for, and they said that would put him over the top. So the feeling right here in Columbus right now is very optimistic for Sherrod Brown and his fellow Democrats. John?
Definitely, and is back going into this race here this evening, Bob. The polls had, throughout it, had shown him running about 4% above where the president was, and obviously those early numbers that we are seeing right now showing about 5% above. Bob's having trouble hearing us, but the poll numbers is showing us about 5% ahead of the president, Sherrod Brown, in that particular race against Josh Mandel against Sherrod Brown against Josh Mandel. As we continue to monitor, we have our folks spread out around the different areas. We have Lee Weingard over yonder. We have Peter Lawson-Jones. We have Leon Bibb, who has been around these for so many times. Let me get on this side of you so you can talk into my mic. Your feelings tonight?
Oh, God, it's an election night. I mean, it's always a sense of excitement. And once again, I would not be surprised if Ohio plays the part, plays the key role tonight. I mean, we've been watching it, and we're the battleground state, and it oftentimes comes down to Ohio. So we'll be watching that real closely.
You've covered so many over the years. Which one, is there one election night that stands out for you here in Cuyahoga County? Put you on the spot.
Oh, God, I've got
speechless.
Maybe the last one, 2008, and 2012, this one right here. These two stand out, really stand out in my mind because there's just been so much emotion. Of course, I remember 1980 with Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter. A sitting president was dethroned by Ronald Reagan, and it was so crucial to Cleveland and Northeast Ohio because we had the debates between Reagan and Carter right at Public Hall in downtown Cleveland. So that's another one that really stands out.
One of my memories from 2008, 4 years ago, is we of course had Lou Stokes in with us as one of our analysts that particular night, and I got a great shot of you and Lou sitting on the set as it was announced that Barack Obama had won that particular race. And I was happy to share that picture with the both of you.
And we appreciate it. And I keep it on my desk. Congressman Louis Stokes and I, we just kind of looked at each other because we realized that a lot of change had come. And that marked a turning point. I mean, that was kind of like a turning point in the old civil rights movement coming out of all of that, and when Barack Obama won the presidency 4 years ago. So
very good, Liam. We're going to be checking in with you throughout the night.
I'll be around.
That.
I'll be around.
I think you will be.
Okay.
You're on the clock, buddy.
I'm on the clock, yeah.
Peter Lawson-Jones monitoring things. Peter, anything you're seeing in particular out of night?
Well, I was hoping you were going to ask me what was my most memorable election, because mine was 2002 when I got elected after being appointed. I was retained as county commissioner, and I remember my opponent spent about $1 million to try to beat me, and I got 61% of the vote. So that's my most memorable election night. I'm just, first let me say, it is exciting to be here at Channel 5 doing this. You can sense the energy throughout this newsroom, and so I hope that I'm here.
Well, no, that's why
invite me here for every election, please.
When you're here in the newsroom, when you're out in the studio, you're kind of cut off from everything. But when you're here in the newsroom, you get a feel
of activity. It's such kinetic energy. I'm sitting here monitoring and the results as they're coming in, as they're trickling in. There really haven't been any surprises so far. The states that Obama was expected to win, he's won. The states that Romney was expected to win, he's prevailed in. I think one thing that's interesting, Obama won by a significant percentage, or he's projected to win by a significant percentage in Michigan. And so that might augur well for the president here in Ohio, because the only state that obviously has a greater connection and is more dependent on the auto industry than Ohio is Michigan. And I believe that the president's support of the auto bailout and Governor Romney's op-ed piece in New York Times saying, let Detroit, let the auto industry go bankrupt, I think that might very well prove to be his Achilles heel this evening, because he can't win this election without winning Ohio. He's doing a little bit, Romney's doing better in Colorado. It's a tight race there. It's a very tight race in Florida. But if we find in the next few minutes that Romney doesn't win in Florida, and it's over then.
Ohio
he needs Florida.
All right.
Yeah.
Check back in a couple of minutes. We want to head over to Michael Baldwin, who's been monitoring the situation down at the Josh Mandel headquarters in Columbus. I'll go to him in about 10 seconds from now. Would be a good indication. Michael Baldwin's monitoring the situation. He has Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor with him, and their reaction to some of the early numbers that we are seeing for Josh Mandel in this particular Senate race. Michael.
All right, I spoke to Josh Mandel a little bit earlier. One of the things that he told me he wants to do, said he wants to work on both sides. Said if he wins, he plans to reach across the aisle to be able to work with Democrats. I have with me right now Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor. And Lieutenant Governor, let me ask this question. When it comes to the Brown and Mandel race, right now still early, but he's down. What does that mean?
Well, you know what I think it means is that if you look at turnout in Ohio and you look at expected turnout from a Republican perspective, we're very confident that Josh Mandel is going to win. Ohioans are worried about their future. They're worried about getting Washington back on track, fixing what's broken in Washington. And so I do think they're very excited about sending Josh Mandel to the Senate.
How do you think this is ultimately going to end up between President Obama and Mitt Romney?
It's going to be a very close race. It's Ohio. Typically, it's very close. We'll go late into the night or early morning hours, and I think Mitt Romney's going to win.
In your best guess, do you think we're going to be able to call this tonight, or it's going to be going to keep going on?
My best guess, probably early tomorrow morning.
All right. Lieutenant Governor, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, guys, you heard it there from Lieutenant Governor. Again, Mandel was striking a different type of tone. He seemed to be preaching moderate. He said he was going to be a moderate, going to reach across the aisle to work with Republicans and Democrats. He said if he wins. He also said that his three main issues, he said, is going to be jobs, jobs, jobs. We'll certainly see if that happens. Win or lose, we will have his reaction right here. For now, we're live in Columbus. I'm Michael Baldwin, News Channel 5.
Thank you very much, Michael. We'll continue to monitoring the results of that race, hearing from Mary Taylor, the former state auditor, current Lieutenant Governor, Pride of Summit County, coming in. We have, looking at a couple of races around the area, we had the Betty Sutton-Jim Renacci race. Unbelievable. We're looking at a difference with about 132,000 votes, and we're only looking at a difference of about 200 votes with Betty Sutton having the lead in that particular race. I want to walk things over and check out, talking with Tom Sutton and Lee Weingart, get their reaction to some of these results that we're seeing. We're also seeing results out of Lake County, which have only a handful of votes separating things. But Tom, we talked about this in particular, the Betty Sutton-Jim Renacci race.
Right.
The results with 132,000, just about 200 votes separating them. We talked about the gap closing in a sense.
Right. And the gap is closing, and we know this is going to be a very close race if it works for Sutton, but it is an uphill battle. That the race definitely favors Renacci in terms of the demographics of the district. But the fact that she's this close at this point in the race, I think does give her the chance that she might just pull this one out.
And one of the key counties that we said we will be looking at, Lake County, and check this out. We got 64,000 votes in, and there's only nine votes
difference
separating the two men, with Mitt Romney having the bare thinnest of leads. But nevertheless, he has taken the lead in Lake County, and he did not have that with the early voting.
Well, and again, I think this, we've been talking about the razor-thin margins that we expected coming out of Ohio. When we look at the counties of the bellwethers, and Lake is one of them, to see that we're down to 9 votes with Romney just pulling ahead by that kind of an edge, and we're now seeing the voting returns coming in from today, not just the absentees. I think this does tell us it's going to be a long night, and it's going to be a while before we know. We may be counting provisionals. Who knows?
Anything else of note you're seeing come across the wire?
Well, I was noticing that Jefferson County, which is another one of the bellwethers, is actually breaking for Obama at this point by about 53% to 45%. That is both real votes. It's about 10,000 votes cast in that county. Columbiana also is breaking in favor of Obama. We're seeing some of the other southeastern counties in Ohio breaking for Romney, but not by large margins, 4, 5, 6-point margins, which is okay, but I don't think it's necessarily enough to see those counties necessarily swing the state in favor of Romney.
We have a graphic I believe we're going to be putting up with the presidential race statewide in Ohio right now. It's showing Obama with 56% to 43% for Mitt Romney as we wait 3% of the precincts reporting. But again, we had 1.8 million people early vote in Ohio. That set a record. We saw the result of those numbers very early on this evening, and now we're seeing the numbers begin to trickle in from those who went to the polls today and cast their ballots in person. Again, Democrats claim the advantage with the early vote in Ohio, so we expected to see the president jump out to an early lead in the state. Now we are beginning to see if that lead can hold up. I want to check in with Lee Weingart real quick, see if there's anything of note that you're coming across out here tonight, Lee.
Well,
FC.
Ohio is still looking, it's very early to call. A lot of early votes, they're all counted. We've got some precincts in as well. Hamilton is better than it was 4 years ago, though it's not in the plus column yet for Mitt Romney. Cuyahoga County looks to be running very strongly for Barack Obama, with about 44% of the vote in. He appears to be headed toward about a 230,000, 240,000 vote majority in Cuyahoga County, which is tough to overcome. Now, George Bush did that. In 2004, he lost by 223,000 votes in Cuyahoga County, and he ended up winning the state by 110,000 votes. So you can overcome it, but you got to really run the table in Southwest Ohio. So check in Warren County, Butler County, Hamilton County. Look at those Southwest counties where you got to run the votes up if you're Romney, if you want to win.
We're just showing this to Tom Sutton. This is the Lake County vote. Of all the votes that are in, there's only about a 9-vote difference between the two right now in that particular bellwether of the county.
Yeah, well, Lake County's like Florida. I mean, there's a 200 vote difference in Florida with 4 million votes cast. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, but Lake County, as we've talked about historically, has been a bellwether for Ohio elections. There was the poll we talked about yesterday where they looked at Lake County. It's picked president in the last 4 elections. So, it's one to watch very closely. Again, I think those are early votes you're seeing in Lake County. They start bringing the precincts in. People who voted today, I think, will be helpful for the president. For Romney, I think he probably carries Lake County, but by a narrow margin.
We talk about Cuyahoga County. How do the votes tend to come in? Do you see the Cleveland votes first? Do you see the suburbs begin to come in? Are there any trends that you can put your hat on when it comes to Cuyahoga County?
I don't think there are anymore. Now we've gone away from electronic voting. It's really precincts bring in when you can. I remember when I was county commissioner 16 years ago running for re-election. We were ahead for a while, and then the Cleveland votes came in toward the end, and they dashed our hopes. But there's really no rhyme, no reason. It's how fast those poll workers, can get the ballots in boxes and in cars and down to the Board of Elections.
All right, Lee Weingart, let you get back to monitoring the situation for us. We got Peter monitoring it. We got Tom monitoring it. We got crews all around Northeast Ohio and Ohio. One of the key indicators, though, often in the presidential race is whether or not the stock market goes up between Labor Day and Election Day. And in 25 of 28 cases, it is accurately predicted the winner of the presidential election. Well, it turns out the stock market from Labor Day to today is actually up about 120 points, and that would be the indication that the party in power would be reelected. This, in case, would be an indication for President Barack Obama for victory tonight. Again, the last time, though, 2004, one of those close races where it did not come into play. We're going to be taking a break on the NewsNet 5 side of things. Going to be turning it over to News Channel 5 for an update on the election results going around Northeast Ohio. But then, stay tuned right there. We're going to come right back to you after that with a look at the latest numbers as they continue to come in here on NewsNet5.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.